This show is sponsored by Horizon HVAC, who you can count on for all of your heating and cooling needs. Today's episode is brought to you by Burns Roofing, your trusted roofing experts right here in Rhode Island. Whether you're in need of repairs, a roof full replacement, or just some professional advice, Burns Roofing has you covered. With their years of experience and commitment to quality, you can rest easy knowing your home is in good hands. Call Burns Roofing for all your roofing needs. This episode of the Mindset Radio Podcast, we're sitting down here with Dinis Paiva. Dennis, thank you for coming on.
I appreciate it, man.
I appreciate it, man. Talk about the process of selling tickets.
It's horrible.
Yeah, talk about that a little bit. How many tickets do you get once you find out that you have a fight booked?
So you build up, right? Like I would CES, I fought on their first event ever as an amateur. Made my pro debut for them, and
CES's first MMA event.
Yeah,
CES
ever.
01.
Yeah,
No kidding.
Yeah, Foxwoods.
How long ago was that? 12 years ago, 13 years ago?
13 years ago, yeah. Yeah, Louis Felix fought a dude, military kid. He ended up passing away. Who else fought that night? Mike Musatelli fought, Steve Skrizvat. It's been so long, man. I fought a kid named John Naples. We slugged it out for 3 rounds. I won, and then we went and had some drinks afterwards.
No kidding.
And we were in a bar, and they're like, "Oh, you guys are fighters. Can tell by your ear." And they're like, "Oh, you guys fought." Like, yeah, we just fought now.
Yeah, we
and
just
like,
fought each
who'd
other.
you fight? I'm like, we just fought each other. And people are always blown away. But
People don't understand that shit.
Yeah, I had I fought Tim Dooling in the main event, and we beat the snot out of each other. He split my eye wide open. We had to get stitched up. And the very next day, I took him to lunch at my dad's restaurant.
Yeah,
and the same thing. People walking in.
Good dad's restaurant, man.
Good eating.
Oh, bro.
Yeah.
I got to take her there.
Portuguese food.
It's Todd brought me there for the first time ever.
Todd's the man.
And I was blown away, dude. The egg with the steak and the
Yes.
French fries.
Ooh,
My favorite. Have you ever had real Portuguese food?
No.
Oh, yeah, you're missing out.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
So I can't even describe it. I can't even describe it to any other food because it's its own thing.
Yeah.
But you would never think that eggs, steak, and French fries with gravy would be appetizing, but it's ridiculously good.
Yeah.
And that's the only place I've ever eaten Portuguese food was your place.
Really?
Yeah. I've never gone anywhere
We're known
else.
for being very traditional, authentic.
Yeah.
The stuff we make and we serve is very close to what you're going to get overseas.
Yeah.
It's a great thing. And we've been in business now for 30 years.
Wow.
I picked up a shift. I work there Monday nights right now. Just some
Oh,
extra
really?
money. Yeah, we took a HELOC out, did some work on the house, a little extra money to pay towards
Yeah,
that.
hell yeah.
Everybody likes a little extra cash.
Hell
And I
yeah.
don't work Mondays.
Do you guys
so
have an Instagram?
Yes.
Pull
Dinis
it up real
restaurant.
quick, Ash. Look at some of this
There
food.
is Emerald Lagasse.
Yeah.
Sandro G. He is a Portuguese rapper. He was featured in that Netflix.
I've seen him.
Yep.
Yep.
And now they're doing a new thing, a new documentary thing, and he's holding the trophy for Santa Clara.
Click on that food right below the first one on the left. Yeah, that one. What is that?
That's bacalhau na brasa, so that's codfish. And we charbroil it, and then we saute garlic, onions, and olive oil, and that's what gets topped
That
off on
sounds
top of red peppers.
Oh
and
my
a little
God, give me
salsa.
some. Give me some.
Yeah, it's
love
one of our
fish.
biggest sellers.
Babe,
right
the
there.
area, the ambiance in the room is beautiful too. It's old
Yeah.
school. It's nice. It's Portuguese.
Yep.
It smells good. It feels good. Everybody's having a good time. There's wine.
Yep.
It's a really good feeling. Go back a little bit, Ash. I want to go to another couple of those
Yeah,
dishes.
Mondays we do the live performance. The picture of my dad singing at my
cool.
wedding.
Oh, that's great. Look at him in the middle right there.
That's at my wedding.
Oh, no kidding.
That's him singing at my wedding.
Yeah, man. So he started this business. Who's that on the right? Is that your
My
sister or
sister
something?
Natalia.
Yeah.
Yeah, my little sister. She's phenomenal, man.
Does she bartend there?
She does it all.
Oh, look at the espressos. Come on. Are you kidding me?
Yeah,
Martini
that's one thing she's
espresso.
Are you
pushing
kidding
right
me?
there. I think she's making an espresso martini, and she's pushing the Macchiato cream. So Macchiato is known for their brandy, and then they release a Bailey's type cream. But it's like the difference of drinking Anij and Sambuca. It's not as syrupy. It's
Oh,
thinner.
yeah. I don't like those syrupy drinks too much,
Yeah,
but if
that's-
it's in between.
if you'll have a liking for Bailey's, that's
Bailey's is good, yeah.
that's Bailey's. On
What's that
steroids.
right below the family picture?
What's that? Octopus.
Oh, God, I don't know about that.
Ooh.
Yeah, dude.
Is it good?
Oh, so good.
Is it fishy? I can't do nothing
No,
fishy
no,
like
it's
that.
it's kind of like a scallop type consistency of it. We do that style, and then we also do every Friday they do the traditional pulv. It's in a red wine, so the whole sauce is the color of wine with boiled potatoes.
What's your favorite dish there?
Pulv is up there, but I've been eating it for so long. Liver might be one of them.
Really?
Really?
Yeah, we do beef liver. phenomenal, thin.
Do you do the raw liver like everybody's doing?
No, I'm not a liver king for me, dude. I'll eat Burger King
Come
before I
on.
eat fucking raw liver.
Come on.
Rotten.
Yeah.
Nice,
liver.
man. Awesome. So yeah, everybody go check out Dinis, right?
Yeah, Udinese.
Dinis. It's absolutely fantastic. We got to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
let's
got
do
Emma
it.
Lagasse there.
Yeah,
You
that's
got
crazy.
Andrew
Click on that
Zimmern.
emerald picture, Ash.
Yeah, that was recent.
When
It
was
only a
that?
few months ago.
So what did he do? He
He
came
just
in
came
and
by
just,
to hang out. He's opening some more restaurants. He like went into like hiding for a little bit. I don't know what was going on.
Yeah, that's the
all,
guy.
like,
The
kitchen
Boom, right?
staff.
That's Boom.
Yeah. He was huge for a while.
Yeah, he looks old. I haven't seen him in a long time.
Yeah, he's getting up there. Fall River native. That's where he's from.
Oh no, I didn't know that.
So he's opened up some restaurants. I think one in Boston.
You know when Emerald's coming to your joint, it's good. It's a good spot.
Yeah.
You know that.
Oh.
and
We've
that's
had
crazy.
him, Andrew Zimmern from Bizarre Foods, Delicious Destinations, the bald guy with the glasses right below Emerald. I was
Oh,
there
yeah.
for that episode when
Oh,
they
is that the
shot
guy
that
on
live.
YouTube? Oh no.
Yeah,
No.
Andrew Zimmern.
Wow.
They did two. One, he sent his crew. They did a recording. They did a voiceover. They talked about some of the plates that we had. And the second time he came in,
You guys were on like a show, right? Didn't they do a show
Yeah,
on
yeah.
the Food Channel?
yeah, the food. That's
Was that
it.
this?
Yeah,
Oh,
Bizarre
okay.
Food, Delicious Destinations.
Yeah.
My sister had to she wanted like authentic clientele to be there. Like she didn't want it to seem like staged, but then she also wanted like very close people. And I had mono at the time, and my sister's like, your dad's son, like you got to be there. I was
Yeah.
like, and the whole time, dude, like my head was like buried in the table.
No
So if you
kidding.
see the episode, you see just the back of my head nodding
Yeah,
off into
you
my
made
soup
it.
plate.
Dude, you know the first time I heard about this, well, not the first time I heard about it, but I went to one of your fights. I was working with Jimmy at the time, and you had right before you fight, you had a video of like your family. Do you remember that fight? It was like a I don't know if it was like a kind of like a thing for your father and your family. It was showcasing the restaurant.
So that's a good story. So how that came up, Access TV would come up, and you had Pat Militich, what's his name, Mike, oh my God, I'm drawing a blank, but one of the commentators that came up, and the whole Access team. So
Yeah, because that's right when they signed the Access deal.
Yes.
Okay,
So
okay.
Jimmy would take the Access crew members out to a restaurant, Federal Hill, wherever, and I caught wind of it, and somehow it came up in conversation to my father on a restaurant. So I was getting ready to fight this kid, Brendan Saylor, and I had just started working with Jose from 4-1 Boxing. I really sharpened up my left hand, which ended up being one of my best tools later on in my career. But I felt so confident during the pre-fight press conference thing. I was talking to the cats, and they're like, "Oh, your dad's restaurant." I said, "You got to get your way. We got to get over there." And I said, "Well, I'll make a bet with you. If I knock this dude out with my left hand, you guys have to go to my dad's restaurant next time you guys come around." At the end of the fight, you would knock him out with the left hand. I start walking off to celebrate. Mike Chavello was the guy's name, and you hear Mike Chavello say, "Well, looks like we're going to his dad's restaurant."
Amazing.
And they did. So I fought Kevin Barberina, and then they came in. They went there after the weigh-ins. That's where we all went to go eat, and that's when they shot that, and that's when they recorded it. And
then they played it before that fight.
Yeah, it was cool, man.
That was a good fight. I don't know what fight that was, but you manhandled that kid.
Yeah, Barberina.
Was that what it was?
Yeah,
Barberina?
3 rounds of just boxing.
Destroyed
face
him.
off. Yeah.
You destroyed him.
Yeah.
And I even looked at Jimmy after. I'm like, when's he getting the nod? I mean, you put in a clinic that night.
Yeah.
It was very sharp. You had very sharp hand movement, dude. Your style was very unique.
Yeah, it was spectator friendly.
Yeah. Very
um,
spectator friendly.
Yeah, I like to be on the feet.
Yeah.
I wanted to strike. Everybody loves a good knockout. I came off of wrestling. I was a state champion in high school. I placed in the Beach Open Nationals. So I had a good wrestling pedigree, and I was known for takedowns and keeping wrestling matches on my feet and taking my opponents down at will. But I boxed before I wrestled. So I've always
There it
had
is.
good hands.
Yeah.
So then
Who'd you
when I-
box with?
that time was Tony Machado. Tony Machado was one of Ray Oliveira, the father, one of his first coaches years ago. He's
Yeah,
one of my
because
best friends.
you're from the New Bedford area?
Yeah. I lived there from 8 to just about 18.
Yeah.
And I moved out March of my senior year, 2006. And my birthday's in May, so it was like 2 months before my birthday.
So how old were you when you started boxing?
14, middle school.
Yeah. That's a great age. That's right around where my son's age is at right now, and he's starting to box, and he's picking up the jab. He's kind of starting to learn how to move around the ring a little bit, but that's a great age to start and build that foundation.
Yeah, absolutely. It's when I started wrestling too. I boxed for 2 years in middle school. Then my 8th grade year is when I first started doing wrestling in middle school, and I loved it. And then I got into high school, and then I abandoned boxing. I used to skateboard a lot. I didn't really skateboard
I
too
skated
much.
too.
I went all in on wrestling all year round. Got over 100 wins, like the equivalent of 1,000 points in 4 years of basketball, right?
Yeah, wow.
D1 state champion, sectional champion, all-state finalist. And then my senior year, I went to senior nationals, went 2-2, didn't place. And then I went to the open nationals and placed 8th.
Yeah, I wish I knew back then how important like wrestling could be in somebody's life. You know what I mean? Like the discipline that it gives you and just the kind of structure in life that it gives you.
Yeah. So to me, I wrestling by far was what saved my life in a sense,
man.
right? Because I grew up in New Bedford. I had a lot of friends involved with drugs. You can go this way, you can go that way. And I was one of those guys that, I like to toe the line. I wanted to party a little bit, but I wanted to get good grades. I wanted the butterfly effect. One small turn, I could have ended up in one way or another, but wrestling was my big thing. I loved wrestling, and if I wanted to go to college and I wanted to wrestle in college, I had to have good grades, and I had to not be, acting up. And that was what kept me on the path. My wrestling coach, Fred Pimentel, never wrestled a day in his life. He's just an unbelievable motivator. That guy, if he told you to run to a wall at 120 miles an hour, you're going to do it because you know it's going to benefit you.
Yeah.
And in 4 years, he coached 2 state champions. Just building the program. My high school didn't even have a wrestling team. It was a club. In 4 years of him being there, I came in and I was the 2nd state champion behind John Marsh. But in a very short period of time, he did it. But wrestling to me is you can apply it so much to life. One, it's just you and your opponent. You go out there, you win a match, you lose a match, it's on you. You can't point fingers. You didn't pass me the ball. You didn't make the block. You didn't.
Was it easy for you to understand that, like when you first started, or did you kind of take it out on other people if you lost? Like, how did you deal with your losses?
Crying. Yeah, I cried a lot during wrestling. My junior year, I had like a mental breakdown after a loss. It's so weird that I can remember names and stuff and matches and points and rounds and everything.
Shit.
But my wife could tell me for 3 weeks we're going out to dinner on Saturday. I would never remember it. Ulysses Mondragon. This kid was ranked high in the state, Norwood, and I was like neck and neck with him the whole match. And then right at the end, I went to go do a roll through cradle and pinned myself. And got up like I won the match.
Oh,
and they raised his hand, dude. Complete meltdown, dude. I was in the bathroom crying for like
on
hours,
the mat.
dude.
On the mat, did you freak out? You
I
hold
had
it in.
to. I got disqualified from New England's from telling ref to go fuck himself.
No.
Yeah, wrestling the kid. I wrestled at the All States, so he knew, what I was going to bring to the table. We had a really funky, crazy match. And then when I met up with him in New England's, he stalled like after scoring a few points early on. So I'm climbing back. And in wrestling, you have to constantly pressure forward or you can circle. You start taking too many steps backwards, you get hit with stalling, and then eventually it accumulates points for your opponent. It was like one of those back and forth matches, like 5-4, going to the 3rd round, and I'm pushing this kid out of bounds, and I'm diving at his legs trying to get that last takedown, and he kept backing up. So it was like 2 or 3 seconds left on the clock, and I looked at my coach. I was like, frustrated, like, you got to say something here. And the ref checked me, was like, you don't talk to your coach. I was like, go fuck yourself. Next thing you know, it was whistles blowing. You're out of here.
Damn.
And it was a long ride from Connecticut, dude.
Were you a boxer, like amateur boxer?
Yeah, so I fought in the Silver Mittens. I fought in like local smokers and stuff like that. I only fought like 10 fights, 11 fights.
Smokers are so fun, man.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
Who did you box? So you boxed with like all the guys in New Bedford, like the
Manny Marquez, this kid Saul Rivera. Man, it's been so long, dude.
Ray Oliveira.
Ray wasn't there. His father, my coach, Tony Machado, used to coach his father, and when he, grew up and built a bigger name for himself, he moved on to a bigger, better gym.
Yeah.
To my knowledge. I don't know if they had a
You ever been to Ray's gym out there in New Bedford,
No.
the little gym?
No. I've seen pictures of Jason Paiva's gym online. I know he's got a good following. My little cousin was going there for a very short period of time. Dude, when I left New Bedford, gone.
Where do you stay now?
I'm in Warwick.
Oh, really? You're in Rhode Island?
Yeah.
Oh, no
I've
shit,
been
man.
in Rhode Island since 2006.
Oh, cool.
I lived in Pawtucket. I lived in Providence, East Providence.
Oh, nice,
then,
man.
now
Yeah,
I'm in
New Bedford's a different animal, bro. Like I can be in like China, and if I see somebody and I see that New Bedford like twang, I'm like, yeah, that dude's from New Bedford. You could just tell.
Hey, guy.
Yeah.
Get one of those.
Yeah. My mom married a guy that is a New Bedford native.
Oh, dude.
And like everybody knows him in New
Guys
Bedford.
still together?
Yeah.
He survived. Is he a fisherman?
No, he's a janitor or something. I don't know what he does.
He's a property manager.
Yeah.
But he plays.
He plays in a band. He plays at Knuckleheads like every night.
Yeah.
On Route 18.
Yeah.
That road was like the death trap of accidents. So many people died on that road. So many people I know. There was who was it? Tony Miato killed a Guatemalan guy riding a bike. The guy was riding a bike across Route 18. He was racing. He had like a Honda Civic or a Honda Accord or something like that, and he killed the dude. Killed him right outside. Yeah.
Dude, we were just talking about that the other night about my friend, this guy Pockets. He was an outlaw in Woonsocket, in Rhode Island. And he was not even on his bike. He was in his car, and he was leaving the clubhouse. And as he was leaving the clubhouse, a dude doing 110 miles an hour, turned the corner, and just barreled right into him. You saw his car just flip. There's actually a video of it from a ring door, and he was just dead on sight, man. I mean, when you hear stuff like that, and it's like the person who passed away, it's not at his fault. It's devastating. Yeah. That stuff is like, that gets to me, man.
Yeah. My kid, I grew up in New Bedford. His sister Justine was in an accident. They head-on collision on Church Street, and she was with this kid, Pun. The driver, Pun, died right on the site. The guy that hit him died.
How long ago was that? Pun, that sounds so
2003.
Oh, no.
I want to say 2002, 2003. It's maybe 4. It's been a long time. I know she posts about him every now and then. But yeah, drunk driver, 85, 90 miles an hour on Church Street, head-on collision. And the way he hit right in front of the driver, so it crushed the driver instantly. She shattered everything from the waist down.
Wow.
It was like, I remember going to visit her in the hospital, and she was still coming back like mentally. And it was so bizarre to see because she's a beautiful girl. But like when you saw her, it was like your eyes weren't there, half the head shaved, all kinds of scarring, so skinny. It was just, it was.
It's weird. It's weird when we see that shit and we're like, we're really just made of nothing. Like we're just a bag of flesh. She's especially seen it in the military. She did surgeries in the military, and she's seen some pretty gnarly stuff.
So you worked with as a medic?
Surgical tech.
Surgical tech.
Yeah, with the Air Force.
Jesus Christ. You crossed paths with Tulsi Gabbard?
I didn't, but it sounds like her and I had a lot of similar.
She's awesome.
We were in the same spot, so I was in Afghanistan. And yeah, she's top notch girl.
I would love if there was.
Dude, Tulsi's awesome.
First woman president.
I don't understand why she didn't get more support
because of the
but
deep state.
You're telling me that Hillary can come this close. Even what's her name? I don't even like to say her name.
That's it.
Hillary did some things to
I get it,
there.
But it's just like, if it's really down to the people's votes, right? Then like Tulsi is she should be the first woman president.
And that's one of the things that came up with Rogan. They took sound bites of him pumping up Tulsi Gabbard, twisted around to make it seem like he was supporting Kamala.
This last election was wild, man.
It blew me away. So
it was wild.
Never registered to vote. After the assassination, I'm Republican. I went all in, dude. I went all in on the Trump thing, and I'm glad, right? You know, obviously Rhode Island, blue state, numbers moving in the right direction.
Pretty
Definitely
close.
want more red. It was pretty close.
Yeah.
And you know, it's one vote, so you don't feel like it makes much of an impact. And that's one of the reasons why I never voted. I was like, what does it matter? And then
I was the same
hear
way.
about like these ballots getting mailed in and dead people voting. It's like, are they really doing this legit? Is it really matter? It was just more of like a thing for me. I got kids now. The way I think of my future now in comparison to what was 3 years ago is completely different.
Yeah.
You know?
How old is your oldest kid?
My daughter's going to be 2, January 3rd.
So I saw an interview with you, and you were speaking with, I think it was a Zoom interview, and you were kind of talking about, you know, whether you wanted to make that decision of being a father or continue fighting. Yep. So do you think that there would have been a chance for you to do both, or were you so dedicated to being a father, you just put your fighting career in the back seat and said, it's time for me to move on to the next stage of my life?
Yeah, we went through a lot, right? 5 years of trying fertility treatment, the whole enchilada. It was like first 2 years, like, we're just trying, let's have fun. By like the 3rd year, 4th year, like my wife would wait a month and her period show up. It was meltdowns, right? Because we're trying, and right, what was going on? It was something wrong. When it came time to retire, I made that decision kind of emotionally. It was the first time I ever fought and lost in front of my mother. It's actually the first time I've ever competed in any sport where my mother was in the audience and I lost.
Was that the rear naked choke?
Yeah. I got my nose completely plastered. Still, I got to go for a second surgery. It's just never been right, but at least I could breathe.
Yeah, that's good, man.
Not
breathing sucks, dude. Trust me.
Not breathing. I can't. Not being able to smell.
My left nose is completely done.
You ever had it broken?
Yeah. It's torched. So at night, it's like, when I eat, I got to eat with my mouth open, and everybody's like, "Dude, close your mouth." I'm like, I can't taste if I close my mouth,
You can't
and like,
breathe.
I can't
Forget
breathe.
about tasting.
At night, I'm just like,
snoring. I had the same issue. I had a collapsed cavity, dude. So it was like nothing. There was nothing going on. I would like try to pull, and it was needed. But so very emotional thing, right? I get my face broken and choked out in front of my father. My mother. Was the first time they ever were in the audience watching me fight live.
Really?
Together.
How many fights what was that?
My dad
fight?
went to 3. My mother's been to 15. My mother would fly in from Florida to watch the fights.
What
all
was
the
that,
time.
like your 14th fight? How many fights was that in?
22,
22 pro
23,
fights?
right? 13 and 9.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did they not like watching you fight?
My mom was always supportive. My dad is old school, 78, fought in Angola and South Africa, Mozambique.
Yeah.
I fought Cody Nordby.
No
And
kidding.
there was a lot of shit talk. And
Oh, I remember that. That
It
was
was the only fight
I
I ever
remember
had
that.
animosity
I
towards
remember
somebody.
that.
And it was
remember
more
that.
about him hyping it up. And I think, we're cool now. I love Cody.
Yeah.
God bless him. So anyway, the shit talk started happening. And I had the best weight cut in my career, best training camp, everything going right, sweet game plan. Cage door shuts, dude. Nothing but red.
Yeah.
Nothing
Wow.
but red. Before I left to go to the arena, I went to go see my dad. I usually go to my dad's restaurant. I have a steak before I go. It's like I go to the restaurant, I eat, and I go by the church in Fox
yeah.
Point. I get blessed by Father Joe, and then I would head off to the casino.
Oh yeah.
And before I see my dad, and I'm like, I can't fucking knock this guy out. And then my dad's like, hey, you need to calm down. This is not good. You're not gonna fight.
Why did it get that bad?
Just the shit talk, dude. Just
It was psychological warfare.
warfare,
then.
yeah. And I never really had that before. I never had anybody in my face like really trying to talk crap to me. I've always gotten along well. I've given my opponents loaves of sweetbread at the weigh-ins.
Yeah.
So yeah, it kind of got me out of character in a way. It was a lesson learned, right? A lot of shit talk. Fight goes on. I come out with a flying knee. I miss his head by this much. We scramble, and within the first like 20, 30 seconds of the fight, dude, he's on my back, around my neck. Body lock in, worst case scenario of all, because he's had like 4 or 5 finishes all by rear naked chokes. I'm in the worst case scenario within the first 30 seconds. How the hell did I get here? So I fought, went through, and then at the end of the first round, he choked me out. I remember sitting up and looking to my left, and my dad was right there. He was like,
No.
nodding his head at me. I was like, oh, dude, so bad.
Why?
So yeah,
because he could feel it. He knew that you were.
he knew I wasn't being myself.
Yeah.
And fighting is not just a big macho bravo thing. Like you have to have a high IQ. If you want,
man.
you want to be elite. And I was trying to be elite, and didn't work out too well.
So, what happens when you go red? Like I know you go in with a game plan. You expect to do this. You expect to do that.
One, you
What's
exert more energy. Your heart rate shoots up. Right, you got to stay calm and collective. If you're in there, heaving and hoeing, dude, you're gonna gas yourself out for one. You're not gonna make decisions properly. You're not gonna analyze what's going on. You're not taking in the information anymore, right? It's like you're ever driven angry and like you're driving around erratically, and usually that's when like you hit a pothole or hit a curb or something. So at fighting, that's a big. Now some guys they need that. I didn't need that as much. Like I needed to turn on to a certain point, but I don't need to to get so hot and heavy like that. I actually performed my best when Mark Delagrati. I left for a year after losing Nordby. And I came back to my first fight, and I went back to doing the same thing. I was in the back room, and I'm heaving and hoeing, I'm getting angry. And he's like, hey, what are you doing? I'm like, getting ready to fight. He's like, no, but why are you here? I was like, I have a fight to go. I got someone to go beat up. And he's like, no, but like, why? He's like, Dinis, you work. You got a beautiful wife. You don't need to do this. You're not doing it for the money. You're going to go make $1,000. What are you doing this for? I'm like, because I love doing it. He's like, that's right. So why don't you have fun doing that? And then the whole mood changed.
Really?
Jose from 4-1 was in the back room. This is before I started working with him. It was actually what started him and I becoming, a team. He watched this whole conversation.
Was he with another fighter?
He was with another fighter, and he's watching Mark Delagrati pull me aside and have this conversation with me. And he was like, "I'm ready to go fight myself."
Wow.
That's how motivational it was. And then I go out there and I starch this guy, knock the kid out in the first round, and run off into the back room. So it worked out, and I performed so well. But Jose has pictures of that conversation, and he's always tell that story about Mark Delagrati and calming me down in the back room.
And you started training with him right after that?
And right after that, yeah, I started training. Actually, I fought once more. I fought Jordan Espinoza, who I beat, and then he ended up getting signed to the UFC a few fights after going on a good win streak. It was that fight that I recognized like, my left hand was just shit. That I wasn't landing. I wasn't throwing it properly. I wasn't turning on my hip, pivoting on my toes. Nothing was.
How many fights into your career is this?
It was 9 and 5, and 9 and 6, 9 and 6. So
And then you made the switch with Jose and started working on your left hand.
Yeah, and I scored several knockouts with that left hand. I knocked out.
What was it so
Sailor.
different? What did he end up doing that kind of zoned you in on that?
I was fighting southpaw, which is a left hand stance. I'm right-handed, so my power hand is my lead hand. So all my dexterity, all my accuracy, everything is on the front half of my body. Everything that I'm throwing from the left is just not firing off the right way. So it's just fine-tuning all those micro movements and pivoting on the toe and stepping in and learn how to angle out and getting guys to feint. I fought, who was it? Mexican muscle, Antonio Castillo, and I knocked him out with the left hand. And you can see I throw like 2 or 3 jabs. I step all the way past his lead foot. So my right leg's forward. He's orthodox, so his left leg's forward. So we're in this opposite standpoint like this. I take my right leg and step completely past his lead leg and launch the left hand right down the pipeline, kick him on the chin. He drops, hammer fist, fight over. It's like fighting is so... There's so much going on that people just don't understand when it comes to feints and traps and managing distance control, range. Working with Jose, it just really I really got to hone in on it.
Yeah, he's awesome, man.
Phenomenal. I still get to, train there. Not as often as I'd like to.
I've heard nothing but just phenomenal things about him.
He's awesome, dude. He's a good man. He's a good dude.
Good. That's what I mean. Like, good guy, too.
Yes.
Good guy to be around.
He's been around for so long.
Yeah.
He worked with Todd Chattel.
Yeah.
I have a very, very... I hold Todd near and dear to my heart.
Todd's awesome, man.
He's
one of my really good friends, yeah.
I met my wife through Todd.
Oh, did you?
Yes.
Oh.
In Rhode Island, no kidding.
Yeah.
All right, let's take a quick commercial break to bring you our sponsor, Burns Roofing. I've been personal friends with Eric for over 20 years. He's an incredible stand-up businessman. And if you ever need anything regarding roofing in Rhode Island and Massachusetts, give them a call. They do honest, hard work, and he is my go-to whenever I need anything in roofing needs. Today's episode is brought to you in part by Pro Landscaping, Rhode Island's trusted partner in creating beautiful, functional outdoor spaces. From detailed lawn care to full-scale landscape design and hardscape installations, they bring expertise and a commitment to excellence to every project. If you're looking to elevate your property with skilled, reliable professionals, Pro Landscaping is here to make it happen. What do you think about what's going on with like the YouTube fighting and stuff? When it first started coming around, a lot of fighters were like, they didn't like it, and they didn't like what it was doing to the sport. They didn't like what it was like representing. I was never really one of those type of person. Like, I always thought, like, okay, good, more eyes on the sport. Like, if it takes that for it to come back and for people to understand fighting a little bit more, then whatever. But I think like what they're doing is they're capitalizing on what people want to see. They're giving the entertainment of what people want to see, and they're hopefully letting the younger generation get involved in the sport because they may be interested in it when they weren't, wanting to watch a Canelo or, a John Jones or whoever. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think and we use Jake as the example. I think he's probably the leading candidate and all that. And what I tell people all the time is like what Jake is doing is what every other fighter typically does, especially in boxing. Right? You're taking the first 10, 15 fights of your career and you're padding your record a little bit and you're getting experience, you're getting loose, you're finding different body styles to match up with. If you haven't fought a lefty before, or a tall, lanky guy, or a short, stocky guy, you're building yourself up. The only difference with Jake is he's making, I'll air quote, Mayweather money fighting these not even up-and-comers, like guys that don't have that pedigree.
But guys that have his same skill, basically.
Right. But and I will tell you as a guy who's done some boxing and done some MMA, when all you do is boxing and boxing is your thing, dude, it's very different than just taking a guy who does some boxing and putting him in there and expecting him to do well.
Yeah.
And it's like running, right? Are you running in soccer or are you running on a track? Are you running the 40 meter? Are you doing running is running, but there's different avenues for running. That's the best way I can simplify it. More power to him that he's making the money, he's doing what he's going to do. I think eventually, at this point, like the hype is starting to kind of down a little bit because everybody just wants to see him fight legit boxer, and the only legit boxer he fought was Tommy Fury, and it didn't go well for him, right? So it's not to say he's not talented, doesn't say he doesn't work hard, he's not doing the right thing. It's just when you talk about fighting Canelo and being a world champion, it's you're a little out of your league by saying that, but more power to him, man. Shoot to the stars. If he's able to get a big Canelo fight, you make that money. And
I think he's gonna get it, dude. Canelo was okay. He heard it, and he was talking about taking it.
Easy money for him, dude. Canelo runs through him like a hot knife and butter.
Yeah, I think it's easy money for them both. I mean, I know what you mean by easy money. Like, obviously, he's gonna destroy him.
Yeah, work him.
But they're both gonna make a lot of money, man. Especially if they go the Netflix route again. Did you hear what Jake made?
40 million?
No, that's what the numbers came out at first, but like it came out officially, he made $170 million
from all like everything else.
From just like everything. I think Tyson. I think Tyson made like 160 or something.
Good.
And Tyson's like value, his net worth was like 10 million going into that fight. So he like 10x'd his net worth in one night.
And he didn't even get hurt.
His stock only went up.
Of
right?
course.
You know,
Of course.
he couldn't lose.
He couldn't lose.
Even if he went in there and got knocked out, you're fighting a guy 30 years younger than you.
Yeah.
It's supposed to happen. The guy gets back into shape, crawls himself out of the depths of hell, cleans up his legacy in a sense, right? Because a lot of people just think of him being that crazy maniac talking about eating
asshole,
your kids and
yeah.
chewing ears. To watch a guy go through that, like it's like a phoenix, dude. He's like reincarnated himself.
Yeah.
I'm so happy for him.
Yeah,
There's nothing better.
You could tell he's such a good guy.
Yeah.
Like cares about people. Like, did you ever see that Netflix special that he did? It was like a comedy stand-up about his life.
No.
Oh, I recommend it, man. It's funny, but it kind of tells you who the person he is. He goes into like really like you get to find out who Mike Tyson is. And you could sympathize with him a lot because like in the beginning of his career, it's like, you know, he had nothing. He ends up meeting this guy who's, you know, Mike Tyson came from a completely different background than a white background. And he all of a sudden meets Cuss that is, you know, in a different lane and gets brought into this home. And like, you know, his life changes right there. Yeah. And it could have went either way. And like, I don't know, man. It's just a really cool story to see that. And that kid was so talented.
Yeah.
At 18 years old.
Specimen.
Dude, unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Specimen of a human being.
Yeah.
You couldn't, like, write a better story than that, right?
No.
You think about writing a movie and, like, I'm going to invent this story. Like, you couldn't get better than that. But, like, Mike's also got a lot of darkness to him, right? He's got his demons. Sometimes you don't get these people that excel so high in the world or so high at a certain, you know, aspect of life, whether it's fighting or whether it's, you know, their work or... You don't get that, dude, when everything runs
without some weird shit going on.
Dude.
Yeah,
you sometimes need fragmented people to really, you know.
Yeah, even Elon Musk is fragmented. That's a really way to.
He's got some weird shit. Yeah, he's got some definitely some stuff going on.
But yeah, it's usually. I mean, your mind, your brain is using a lot more than an average person that's just, you know, getting up, doing the same thing, going to bed, getting up, doing the same. You're being creative, so you're reaching different atmospheres within yourself. So yeah, you and we all have the ability to be good and evil.
So what do you do for work?
I work with Cisco Foods.
Oh yeah.
Okay, yeah.
I'm a facility technician.
Okay.
So we're just kind of like maintenance guys on steroids.
Yeah. You've been there for a while?
I started last year in January. Well, this year in January. I'm sorry. So it's going to be a year. And I worked for. I was in the trash industry for 5 years. Before that, I worked with Waste Management for 4.5 years.
The Waste Management company?
Yeah. I was a route manager with them. I worked in dispatch, and then I did routing, and then I was a route manager. So I oversaw all the drivers that collect all the trash, recycling, everything in the city of Cranston. That was my contract.
Oh, dude, I got a story about that. We have a dumpster issue right now. We hired my buddy, Brothers Disposal. Shout out to Roland.
Oh, yeah, I know them.
You know Roland? He's the man. He's one of my really good friends, and he's always given me an opportunity when there was one. And we started, like, my company started, like, just, like, we had an overload of trash every single day. So we were like, it's time to get a dumpster. So we had one put at my house at the end of the driveway. And we get it picked up every 2 weeks. It gets unloaded.
Like an open top square?
Open top with like the flip top. I think it's like a 3-yarder.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, my guys will go to my house to unload the trash, blah, blah, blah. And Roland sold the route, which I don't know what that really means. I guess he sold... I don't know how you sell routes. I still haven't really thought about that. But
sold it to another company.
Homes? Yeah. Who was the company? Do you remember?
I don't. I've purged the name.
Yeah, I don't know. They were terrible though.
Yeah, well, they sell your contract out, and if there's a truck that's allocated with that, they can sell the equipment with it. They can sell just the work itself,
or just sell the contract. I think they sold the equipment with it too.
They sold probably
they sold the bin.
Yeah.
They sold the bin. They sold the contract.
Yep.
So they come the first time they come to unload. They unload half of it, and they leave half the trash inside. I'm like, okay. And he was like, we'll be right back. We'll come back. I was like, okay. So 2 days later, nothing. It fills up again. 2 days later, nothing. And I'm like, you know what? Fuck this. I got a very short leash with incompetence. Like, I don't, if you can't just do that, you know, I don't want to do business with you. Just get out of here. I'll figure it out. You know what I mean? So I call him. I'm like, just come get your bin, dude. I'm going to go with another company. All right, we'll be there on Monday. Monday comes, no show. Call him, no answer. Call him, no answer. Tuesday comes, no answer. Wednesday comes, no answer. Finally, I got a hold of him today, and he's like, "Oh, what's going on, Mike? What's the problem?" I'm like, "Well, I can't get a hold of you guys. Nobody's answering. They picked up half of the bin. They left half of the trash in there. I was like, I just want it out of here. I'll go with another company." And he goes, all right, we'll work on it. And he said it was supposed to get picked up by the end of the day today. Maybe it will, but when we get back. But we ended up going with Waste Management, having them drop another bin. It's just the incompetence, man. Like I said, I just don't have time for that shit. Yep. It's time on the phone that I got to spend with somebody and have to do this, and then I have to call somebody else. And it's just like, just
and you're also dealing with the accumulation of trash that you're building on.
The trash, I'm dealing with my guys calling me all day. I'm dealing with it. Like, it's just like, drop the bin, come get it when you're supposed to, drop it off, and you can gather your money. That's it.
So, mistake on your end, telling them you're going to cut the contract or you want to remove it. I would have pushed to have them dump it, and after they emptied it out, then be like, take your shit and go.
So wait,
because once you'd already thrown that thread of like, I'm all set with you guys.
Oh, they'll just leave the bin there?
There's no sense of urgency anymore. Well, they're going to get there eventually, but when they got all these other customers going on and guys call out and a truck breaks down, the trash industry is I learned so much doing it.
So what? Just tell them to take the bin when they come unload it? Just say, take it with you?
Because they wouldn't be able to. Because the driver that's going to come is a front load driver, right? He has the forks, dumps the whole container out, which is probably the reason why some of the trash got stuck in there. Sometimes it gets wedged in there, could get frozen, depending what time of the year. Yeah. If it gets overstuffed, it may pinch on the sides. If they're not banging the can to loosen everything and drop it all out, they just go dump whatever's loose, falls out. They drop it back down.
Yeah.
Some trucks have like dash cams and camera systems, so they can see into the hopper what comes out, and they can kind of look into the can. If they're doing recycling, they can check for contamination. Dead bodies.
No shit.
They also have a camera that points to the hopper of the truck, so they can see how full they are as they're running the as they're running the ramp to compact the trash. It's such a weird industry.
Why'd you get out of that business? It seems like a very lucrative business where you can kind of move up and make more money.
Probably one of the most important lessons I learned in my life was in the last year. I worked with Waste Management 4.5 years. Good company, got me to a good place, made great money. I had some indifferences. Sometimes the culture, the people I worked with wasn't ideal. So it was like kind of like a fraternity at times with some of the guys I worked with. And it was a point where I was like, dude, I don't want to be doing this anymore. I'm not really happy. And you're working 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. I got drivers on the road till 5:30, 6 o'clock at night. Got to watch their routes. Did they complete? Did they did not? What I got to do? I got to bust out maps for the next day, send them backtracking because they missed a part of a cul-de-sac. It just took so much out of me. Then things started kind of realigning and getting better. And then out of nowhere, I got an offer to go jump ship to another company.
Another disposal company?
Yeah. Through somebody I know personally, through fighting. I don't want to drop any names. But he made me an offer I couldn't refuse. Big sign-on bonus, 6-figure salary, company vehicle, the whole 9 laws. And he did. He produced.
Wow.
But the work was in Boston. And I was hired to do X amount of hours, Monday through Friday. And then when I got into it, it was going in at midnight, 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. Not finishing until 5, 6 o'clock in the afternoon.
Did you know that when you took the contract?
No, because it wasn't set out. We didn't have, like, when he told me what it was, he painted a picture of one thing, and then when I got into it, it was like, well, this is kind of management. This is what it is. And I was not happy, right? And I did it for 6 months, completely withered away. I lost so much weight because I wasn't sleeping properly. I barely was eating. I was stressed out. I was working 14, 15-hour days, Monday through Friday. Wow. On weekends, they were sending trucks out. They had no weekend coverage, so I'd be on call. The drivers were going in at midnight on Saturday morning and midnight on Sunday. So from midnight Saturday morning until 10, 11 o'clock in the morning Saturday, and the same thing on Sunday, dude, I was working remote. I was working 7 days a week. It was horrible, dude. Horrible. Ugh. Money was great, great opportunity. What I appreciate was I learned such an important lesson in my life that I've been chasing the carrot, and we all want to make as much money as we can. Money was so important to me that was it. That was the focus point. Just make as much money as I possibly can. I'll figure it out. And then I got into it. And I'm like, I make more money, dude, but my life is shit.
Dude, I'm so happy you just said that.
My life went to shit. And then I quit. We had a falling out. I actually put my 2 weeks notice in. We revisited, hashed some things out. And then I got chewed out on a call for covering some people, and I missed some things I was supposed to do. And I'm pleading with this guy like, hey, man, like I'm doing the best I possibly can. My hands are tied. I'm doing everything. And I got run through the ring. And I just felt so disrespected to somebody I know personally that I wouldn't have thought would like treated me like that on a call with 10, 15 people.
And your other job's fucked. You can't go back to your other job.
Oh, I had the open door, yeah.
Oh, you do?
If I wanted to go back to waste management, I could have. But at that time, it was like, I've been working in operational management for the last 15 years. I got one kid now, and I got another one on the way. Do I want to be tied to a job 5, 6, 7 days a week, nights, phone call? I don't know if this is what I want to do for the next X amount of years with little kids at home. I worked for this company called Martin's Maintenance. They're a janitorial company in East Providence, and I worked with them from 21 until basically 10 years, and then left to go work for Waste Management. Cisco was one of our customers. I started as a third shift cooler janitor, pushing a broom, $9 an hour, dude. This is back. I was 21, whatever. I'm 36 now. So 15 years ago.
That was like 2000, probably 1990, like 2003, 4, 5, something like that.
I went from a janitor to a shift leader, shift supervisor, account manager, regional account manager, senior compliance manager, and I just continued working my way up. And at one point, I was running Cisco houses in Long Island, Portland, Maine, Virginia, Gainesville, Florida. We had the Hannaford Distribution Center in Portland, Maine. I had Reinhardt Food Service in New Bedford, Taunton, and Burlington, Vermont. And then we had the Cisco in Plimpton, Mass. So I was just doing nothing but traveling, and it was interfering with training. And that's when I was like, I just want a solid desk job where I can go make my money. And that's how I left Martin's. But I always had good rapport with Cisco personnel. And my director now was a facilities manager at the time. I built a good relationship with him. My best friend worked with me at Martin's, left to go work for Cisco directly. Oh. He stayed behind. I quit the last job. And then as I was in limbo looking, I was possibly going to go back to either Waste Management. I was going to go back to Martin's. I didn't know what I wanted to do exactly. He calls me up out of the blue one day, and he's like, hey, man, I was talking to Paul, and we got a position open if you're interested, if you want to come in and talk to him. Money was great, hourly pay. I go in, I do my job, I clock out, I leave. It's the perfect gig. If I want to make extra money on the side, I have that option now. But at least I know I go to work at this time, I leave at this time. I don't have to do the phone calls. I'm not covering the weekends.
When you retired, did it feel like that you needed to like kind of restart and be like, okay, I got to put my focus into like work now? Like when you retired from your fighting career?
When I retired from fighting, the focus was on conceiving. It was like, all right, I put 10 years into this. My wife has sat on the sideline. She supported me, but it's now her time for me to put everything into her. It's family time.
Yeah.
Although I was young, I was 32, 33 when I retired. 32 when I retired, and still more in the tank. But
are you 35, 36 now?
36. Yeah, I'll be 37 in May. And now that I got my kids, I got that feeling of like,
you did it, man. You did it, and now it's
Yeah, well, I got the feeling of like I'm getting itchy again.
Yeah.
I'm getting itchy again, and I don't...
To fight or to... Really?
Yeah, I hate looking back on my career after that last loss. I was okay with losing on the Contender Series to a certain extent. I performed well, took a short notice fight, went up a weight class, went all 3 rounds, dropped the guy in the 3rd round.
I think you would make Jimmy's day if you made that happen. You sold a lot of tickets, dude. I want to go back to that ticket thing.
Yeah.
I
don't understand it.
Explain the process of, okay, it's your first fight, you're building up your client, you not clientele base.
Fan base.
You're building up your fan base. How does that work, and where did it go? Like, where did you start and where did it end?
I started with being the first fight on the card, fighting in front of nobody.
Oh, yeah, because it was literally CES 1.
CES
That's
1.
right.
Well, CES 1 was an amateur. That was in Foxwoods. So there's already a couple fights at that point. But as a professional, I made my debut at Twin River. I believe, and I could get fact check on this, I have the record for most MMA fights at Twin River Casino. So, yeah, you start off, dude, you're fighting in front of nobody. You're making your name known. I had a lot of good support, friends and family that were all coming out. And then they start talking to people, and then they bring their peoples.
Your first pro fight, how many tickets did you sell?
Probably like 25, 30.
I didn't realize you had to sell your own
tickets.
tickets.
Yeah, the fighters are
sell
responsible
tickets, you make commission. That's part of your pay.
Oh,
yeah. My pro debut, I think I got paid 5 and 5, so I got paid $500 to fight, and it doubled to win.
Wow.
And then out of that 500 or 1,000, you got to pay Uncle Sam.
You thought it was more. You thought it was more, huh?
Yeah. Well, you're putting your life on the line ultimately. So I thought
boxing,
you'd be
MMA,
compensated.
it's very, very similar. Those early on fights, your first 5 to 10 fight, unless you're really. You got guys who go to the UFC and 5-0. Randy Costa was one of those guys. I think it was like 4-0, got signed to the UFC. But even in the UFC, you're fighting for 10 and 10, 10,000, 10,000. Again, Uncle Sam, 20, 30%.
Khabib didn't start making money until like his last few years in the UFC.
Yeah.
I mean, you really don't start making money until you're a name, until you can prove that not only are you selling your tickets that you have, but you're selling tickets for for the event.
Yes. So they value your worth based on your fan base?
Oh yeah.
That's a big
based on what you can sell.
Yeah,
it's a business.
It's a business. It's entertainment first and foremost. Like, this is an entertainment. It's a sport, yes, but it's entertainment. So like, they got to cover their expenses. Now, if you're a local guy like myself and I can sell 100+ tickets to a venue, well, I'm selling enough tickets to pay my purse, my opponent's purse, their flight. I'm covering that full expense and some.
Yeah.
So they're gonna push you more because
they'll push you more. Yeah. And I won't be one to say, at one point I was 1-3 in my pro career.
Wow.
I went to 3-3, went to 3-5. I was like, I'm done with fighting. And Loco, Mike Resch, is the one that convinced me to keep fighting. they could have just said, dude, you're not winning enough for us. But I sold good tickets. I always maintained good respect for everybody. I was easy to work with. I didn't say no to fights. They like working with guys like that, with fighters like that, and I kept showing up. And then, I go from 3-5 to 7-5, 7-6 to 11-6, 11-6, and then finish off at 13-9. Like, I had such a crazy up and down weird career. Like, my first 8 fights, I probably shouldn't have been pro at that time. I fought as an amateur for 6 months and then went pro.
Oh, wow.
So I made a lot of like careless mistakes early on, being mismanaged, fighting out of my weight. I fought this kid, Sergio Cabrera, and we were supposed to do a catch weight, I think, at 140, and he showed up at like 154.
Jeez.
Wow.
And I was at 138, and I talked to my brother, and I have a manager at the time, and my brother was like, dude, don't take the fight. Talk to my coach, don't take the fight. I'm like, well, I just sold a bunch of tickets. I got people coming out. I need this money.
Damn.
Fuck it, I'll take it. Lose a 3-round decision. I got disqualified another fight, need a kid in the face while he was still grounded. Couldn't fight any longer.
Explain the difference from fighting somebody that's your weight and fighting somebody that's a 20 weight difference. How big of a difference can that make in a fight?
Yeah, it's everything, man. It's everything. It's
massive.
Weight classes for a reason.
Yeah, it's massive.
Boxing's been around for so much longer. There's more weight classes in boxing because they recognize that, right? Even in wrestling in high school, you had 14 weight classes from when I was in high school. Weight classes have changed now, but it was 103 to 275, 14 different weight classes. MMA, you got 8. 25 to 35, that's 10 pounds. It doesn't seem like a whole lot.
Yeah, you can feel it.
Yeah.
So if you're comfortable at 170, how come you can't fight at 170? Is it
because
if
I'm cutting weight, if I'm not cutting weight and the next guy is cutting weight, I'm going to fight this dude who's 6'2", losing 35 pounds to come in. He's going to rehydrate and come to the cage at 200 pounds, and I'm walking in there at 170 like I'm going to do something.
When you rehydrate the next day, so if you're fighting at 170, you're probably fighting at 185.
Yes.
Wow.
Right? So if you stay at 170, if you're walking around at 170 and your opponent, you're fighting at 170, he's really 165 and then blows up to, he's really 170 and then blows up to 185, 190 or whatever.
Yeah.
And there's the 20 pound weight difference.
So now you're fighting a guy who's longer, taller, stronger.
Yeah,
it's just, it all adds in.
Do you feel like you could fight with more energy and stamina if you were able to just eat before you fought? Like
they can.
Within 24.
They can
proper
eat
nutrition
24 hours
is the
before they
big thing. Proper nutrition is a big thing. I've had fights. I've had good weight cuts where I've ate the day of the weigh-ins.
Really?
I was able to eat apple, not much, but like where you're eating your way through versus times where I wouldn't eat or drink anything for 48 hours.
Yeah, that's what
Horrible
I don't understand.
So like I said earlier, in hindsight, I think if I had stayed at 145 and I put on a little more muscle and the cut wasn't as extreme, I probably would have had a longer or more prosperous career there, potentially. But I was able to make 135, and I had good performances there too. Yeah. So that's in my mind. It's like I know I can make the weight if I really, if I really struggle a bit, but I could do it. It's just what do you compromise at that point? And I do think, to your point, Lynn, I look at some of my performances at 145, especially ones where I went the full 3 rounds. I performed. I had it in me. Mm-hmm. Times I was cutting on a 35. By the end of the second round, I'm shot, and I would feel it. So it was tough.
Would you do bare knuckle?
If the money was right, yeah.
I think
I don't think I would do it for long. I think I would just do a one
for a couple fights, one and done.
Yeah.
You'd probably get a nice payday over there.
Could.
Yeah, because you're definitely your hands. I mean, you definitely have hands for that.
Yeah. Well, now that Masvidal, he's got the bare knuckle MMA, which is really cool.
And what's his name? Just started his dirty fighting.
Mike Perry.
Mike Perry.
Yeah, that's interesting. It's like boxing with MMA gloves.
So what's the difference? That's what it is.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. The difference between boxing gloves and MMA gloves, definitely.
No elbows or anything.
The dirty boxing, I don't know. I didn't see enough of it.
Fighters wear 5-ounce gloves to protect their hands while allowing for impact. Ring fights take place in an 18-foot ring. Okay, regular fights have 3 rounds and 3 minutes each,
including elbows. All hand strikes are allowed, including elbows.
Nice.
Striking.
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
Ground right up my alley. And pound.
Yeah, that's up your alley, dude.
Yeah.
That's up your alley, and you'll probably get a nice little payday from that. And it's
I don't think I would
good exposure
to come out of
too.
Retirement to fight in a bare knuckle.
Little warm up with CES.
A little extreme.
Yeah. Well, we'll see what 2025 has in store.
Well, what does that consist of for you? So you're changing your gears from You were able to provide for your wife. You guys started your family.
Mm-hmm.
So now how do you change gears to get back into prep mode, to get into fighting mode?
Over the last few months, I've been kind of in and out of the gym, not as consistent as I know I need to be, but at least enough that I haven't fallen off. I've still got my abs. Like, I haven't fallen completely apart. And it keeps that little, like, that thing in the back of my mind. Like, I can go in there.
You're 36, man. You still got a good 4 years.
Yeah, easily.
Yeah.
And I want to come back and in a perfect world, one fight, swan song, one and done, right off into the sunset. I got my win because I've been retired now for so long. If camp goes well, I perform really well. All these things line up. If I even fight, the reality is, I want to. My heart's in it, but my kids are my priority.
Yeah,
and if I can't figure out a way to make it work, and being a father first and foremost, and a husband and a worker, then I can't be a fighter. My kid's always going to be first, without a doubt. So it's that. But I have that in the back of my mind. Like, I really do want that one more. And over the last couple of years, it's really like just taking over me. So I go to the gym every now and then. I'll spar, and I'm like, I miss it so much.
Yeah.
In a perfect world, come back, get a good fight, win, and right off to the sunset. And just be able to have that last win. When I retired, I wasn't even going into it. It wasn't like, if I win, I lose, I'm going to retire tonight. It wasn't. It was a complete emotional decision I made right there and then. Get choked out, choking on blood. The first person I see is my wife. She's hugging my mother in the audience, crying. I turn to the right. I see my father.
Oh, you retired on the spot?
Oh, yeah.
Like, did you know that you were going to retire before that fight?
Right there. It just came out. Like, yeah.
I think you made the right decision. It sounds like you did, because you gave your wife what she's been wanting. You got your family started.
Yeah.
You got yourself in a position where you can now have a legacy to leave.
Yeah, I could never fight again and be okay. My legacy is there. Coming back and winning a fight isn't really going to do much for my legacy. It's really just for me.
Yeah.
I don't want to look back in my career and the last thing I remember is getting my nose rearranged across my face and choked out in front of my family. It's just, it's really been a pit in my stomach. I'm not going to say I've been depressed over it, but I've definitely had some dark times in battling that. So that's what always stays in the back of my mind. I was like, I just want that one more, just to right the wrong.
You have to, because you can't die and say, you know what, when I was 35, 36, I should have just do it.
Yeah, if you want it this bad, I could tell you want it. I could tell you want it.
I don't want to be the Al Bundy of my family.
But here's the thing, bro. Here's the thing. Like, you're 36 years old. You put 1 year aside. 1 year, 36 to 37. You say, hey, I'm gonna make this happen. I need to get that win back. It's 1 year out of the how many, you're gonna have a beautiful life with your family.
Still.
And they'll probably understand that it means a lot to you.
Yeah, my family, like my siblings and stuff, are all like, dude, you should have been there already. They all know.
So this is a decision that you're waiting on. That you need to make.
Really, it's my schedule right now with work. If I leave work right on time, I work in Plimpton, Mass. I live in Warwick.
Wow.
Plimpton, Mass.
I work in Plimpton, Mass.
Where the hell is
past
that?
Carver, up on Route 44.
I've never heard of Plimpton.
So before Plymouth. So it's from Carver, Middleborough Rotaries.
Where do you travel a day? How long is it?
In the morning. An hour and 20, hour and a half sometimes. I leave my house at 6:30 to get to work for 8. And I get to work like 8 minutes before my shift. So just enough time to come in, make a coffee, hang out for a little bit, drink it, sit in front of the time clock in at 8 o'clock, and then go in. So
you ever think
3
about
hours a day.
Learning like a trade, something that where you can do on your own, like, learning how to be an electrician or an HVAC tech, and because like your name, it holds weight. So anything that you do business-wise, people will pay attention. People will listen. So if you master an art, if you master something, which you will because you're a competitor, and that's how your brain works. When you get into something, you're going to be the best at it. So if you start, if you're like, hey, I want to give, electrical work a try, and you get to the point where you can do side jobs here and there and work for somebody for a couple of years and do side jobs, if you start a company, it will be successful just predicated on your past success with fighting. And people know, like, this dude's a solid dude. He's going to come through. That means so much in business, dude. Absolutely. So your success would explode if you did something like that, I think.
So, I do a lot of hands-on stuff, right? My job as a facility technician, we're like maintenance guys on steroids. So we work on robotics in the building. They got
shit.
PAL wrappers. They have ammonia systems. They have this large crane system that they call it a mini loader. It's this giant racking system with thousands of these small little trays that get pulled in and out, and they break down pallets of product, slow-moving products, something they only sell like 2 or 3 cases on. So they break it all down to these small trays. They load up onto a conveyor. This conveyor's got an arm. It shoots it up, brings it up to a rack, scans it to location. So we work on that. That thing fails all the time. Sensors, chains.
Really?
Just all kinds of different things.
Does it throw off codes and you just have to kind of, or is it like a diagnosis?
Yeah, depending on the code. So you go to the computer screen, you look at what code it's reading, and then you troubleshoot from there depending where it may be. It could be the conveyor, it could be the handshake where it pulls the tray off. There's all these different things.
Yeah, people don't understand that about diagnosing a system. I just dealt with that before I came here. We're working on a Navian, a combi boiler, and it was throwing off this fucking code that we couldn't figure out, man. And we're just like, it's like a process of elimination. You do one thing, and that doesn't work, the code's still there. You do another thing, that didn't work, the code's still there. So when you go on service calls sometimes, or when we do, it's like the customer thinks that, whether you're there 10 minutes or 2 hours, they're like, they don't understand that came with the knowledge that it took me for years and years and years to try to diagnose this. And when you go ask for payment, they're like, well, that seems like way too much. It's like, you have no idea what we just had to do to get that done. So
it's like mechanics. My brother's a mechanic, and that's one of the things is diagnostics.
Yeah,
where you may hook up the scanner and it's going to read you out an O2 sensor code, but you got to go running around and checking all the different O2s and really pinpoint exactly. But as far as like the hands-on stuff, drywall, painting.
So you do all that stuff?
I do all that.
You know how to tape and stuff?
Oh yeah. The only thing I won't do is plaster.
Yeah, plaster's a different breed.
Plaster scoop.
Yeah. It's a beautiful product. I'll always I'm a taper. I was in a union for 10 years as a taper in Boston.
Oh, yeah.
And if I were to redo my house, I would definitely not tape it myself. I would hire a plasterer. Plaster's just a better product.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Sound to it's solid.
It's cleaner. It looks better. It's easier to paint. It's easier to maintain. It's easier to clean.
Absolutely.
Plaster is just a better product. So taping is cool if you're fire taping or if you're in a commercial building or whatever. But as far as plaster, you can't go wrong with that shit, man.
And now this position I have in my company with Cisco, they sent me out this year. I got my hoisting license. My hydraulics license.
Yeah.
For
That's huge.
Yeah. I got to go back and do the test. I failed for telescopic booms with ropes, so they're going to send me out for that. They're going to give me some of that education that I'm looking for to get more hands-on, but I really would like to get into flipping. It's one of the
we
things
can talk
I really
about that,
want to
man. We can talk about that.
Yeah, because I got to stash aside right now, and I'm really looking at doing my first flip. Ideally, I think I want to get my first time. I wouldn't mind doing a condo. Something simple. I'm not worried about the roof and backyards and landscaping or anything like that. Pretty simple. Cabinetry, flooring, bathroom, and most of that I could do myself. So that's one of the things that's one of my goals this year for 2025. I want to buy and flip a condo.
Dude, I can see you. I could see you as owning a business, man, and being successful. You really should. You really should step out into that and pull your resources together and see what you can do.
Yeah, it's something I want to do on the side. But right now, I have the stability of having a good company behind me. My 401k, I just got. I'm getting enrolled with a Roth IRA. Actually, was in Plymouth yesterday at Cornerstone, meeting with my financial advisor, talking about the numbers.
Do you know stocks and everything? Or do you kind of just let them do that?
Yeah, they're gonna have to. I'll learn as I go along, as I get into it. There's all things I didn't start considering. I never even thought about retirement 2-3 years ago.
Yeah,
I know. What? 401? I just make my own money. And I'm trying to get that portfolio as wide open as I can. I want to be able to have some real estate, some rental properties, do a little bit of flipping on the side. If I can have my IRA, if I can have my 401k, I could do all these different things. That's going to build wealth, right, in the future. My dad, most of his money you would think came from the restaurant, and it does and it doesn't. Most of the money he's made later in his years is from real estate, buying property, holding on to it, selling it. Yeah, it worked out really well for him. But you'd never know looking at the dude.
So when you talk about flipping, do you have it in your mind that you want to go in and fix the place up, or do you like the wheeling and dealing, the hustling type of aspect?
I'm more of going. I like the start and the finish thing, like the creativity of going in, seeing the place look like crap, pulling everything out, finishing, painting. Yeah. A lot of people don't like to do interior painting. It's one of my favorite things to do.
Yeah, same.
Put some music on.
Really?
Zone out, do your thing, because you get to see the before, the after, the in-between. The work is there. There's nothing to really think about, right? Just do paintbrush and have at it. But yeah, it's something I would really enjoy doing. I think I could do a good job at it. I had a condo in Pawtucket that I got from my father that I renovated the whole thing myself. It took me a year. The year leading up to my wedding, I was working part-time at T-Mobile doing sales for them. It was the only time in my life I worked part-time, and it was because of the fighting thing. And then I took a year off after losing to Nordby. Money got short. I got a wedding to pay for, and then I went back to working full-time. But it took me basically 12 months. It was 11 and a half months, but to renovate the entire unit, floors, cabinets, bathrooms, carpeting, drywall, skim coating, everything. And then decided to move in the week of my wedding.
Oh, God.
Which was like the worst idea
That's
in the
a
world,
nightmare.
We went on a honeymoon for 2 weeks, came back, and everything was still in boxes.
Yeah.
It was like
Where'd you guys go for your honeymoon?
We did Barcelona, Lisbon, San Miguel, and Pico. My dad lives in Pico. He's got
He lives there now?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
He spends about 6 months a year in Portugal, about 4 or 5 months a year in Florida, and then the other month and a half, 6 or 7
he's
weeks.
Doing it right.
He just bounces back and forth to Rhode Island.
So
he spends very little.
He started with the restaurant.
No,
and
he started with. My dad's such an OG, man. That's a whole other podcast right there. My father served the war in Angola, South Africa, Angola, Mozambique. Came to the States. He worked at a radio station. My dad's a singer entertainer. That was his claim to fame, right? Sings in Portuguese. Came up to like that Jerry Martin, like the Jerry Lewis.
Jerry Lee Lewis.
Jerry Lewis.
Yeah. Oh, the radiothon
There
thing.
you go. He came up during that era. The skinny microphone with the snifter glass. Walks around, he's an entertainer. Does the jokes, sings a bunch of jokes, and he sings. And he's got a beautiful voice.
That's why the restaurant business worked for him.
That's how it came into it. And he had a pawn shop for a while. My dad's always been big on coins and jewelry and stuff like that. And then he had a restaurant in East Providence called Estrela do Mar, Star of the Sea, across from Devaney Tire on South Broadway. And he was there for quite a while. I want to say the 80s into the late 90s. But it was more of like an upscale restaurant, and he had business partners involved. He wanted to get out of that. So he sold part of the business, took a little bit of money, begged, borrowed from Pete and PayPal, all that stuff, and then bought Dinis and bought his own restaurant for himself that was more family-oriented. And then he's had that since 94, 95.
That's awesome.
We've been cranking along.
How's Barcelona? How is Portugal? What's it? I know so many people that just when they go to Portugal, they do not want to come back.
It's so beautiful, man.
Yeah.
It's so beautiful. I mean, just you go online and look. We're going to this year. I'm taking my in-laws. They've never been to Portugal. To Madeira Island. I've never been to Madeira Island. Madeira Island is like the European.
Let me see
Hawaii.
Madeira Island, Portugal,
brother.
Ash.
Brother.
It's nice.
It's gorgeous.
How's the food?
Phenomenal.
Yeah, it's just like your restaurant.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, and we went to Barcelona, and Barcelona's gorgeous.
Oh, Maron.
That's
Look
like
at
nothing.
the
You got to see some.
color of the water.
You got to see the waterfalls and everything they have there. It's
Jeez.
unbelievable. So we went to Barcelona. We were there for a couple nights. Barcelona was great. We got there. We did more like clubby bar hopping because it was our first stop. We were all like excited, and all this energy. But it was a little weird because I speak a little bit of Spanish, but I don't speak Spanish.
Yeah,
I speak
it's
like
different.
American Spangalese.
Yeah. You can get by.
Dude, it was one point I thought we were getting kidnapped because it was like not that long after the Liam Nelson movie Taken came out.
Taken,
I
yeah,
swear,
yeah.
and I was.
I think everybody thought they were getting kidnapped around that time.
Dude, we were there, and we were at we went to a house cafe, right?
Like a hostel?
No, like a pot shop.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So my wife and I, we're gonna enjoy our vacation.
Yeah.
And we went out there, and we stand out like sore thumbs. Dude, we do not look European whatsoever. I tried a little bit, but it was not happening. But I remember there was these two big black guys. One that was like super jacked, bro. He had veins on his quad. He was rocking like short shorts, dude.
Nice.
And they were on the opposite end of the club. They left, came back, and then they sat right next to us. So my wife and I are enjoying ourselves, and then they start kind of talking to us. And my wife is not in the right state of mind and is like disclosing, like, yeah, we're here for our honeymoon.
Oh, gosh.
And in my mind, I'm like, these guys know we're not from around here.
We're
and I'm getting paranoid.
now.
We're getting targeted. And I was like, we're getting kidnapped. I'm like,
All paranoid.
super paranoid given the circumstances. So I remember leaving, and we get into the crowds, and when we get up to leave, they came behind us.
Ooh.
I was convinced. I'm like, we're definitely getting kidnapped. So I remember like shooting in and out of like the crowds on like the main like roadways, the storefronts, and then we finally went to like a sunglass shop, bought a couple sunglasses, like went into the skies, like
Put a wig on.
We were just super paranoid for no reason.
No shit.
But Barcelona was great. Carpe Diem was one of the clubs that we went to. It's like a Moroccan club right on the beach. Beautiful. My wife was like, we're going to go run on the beach and run in the sand. So she takes her heels off and we're running. It's dark out, dude. Poor girl. Towed right into a boulder. Boom. Blew out her.
On vacation.
Yes, on vacation.
Forever.
You a
memory.
wine guy?
Nah, not too much.
You ever have Portuguese wine?
No.
Yeah,
It's different.
Sangria. I'll do some sangria. I make a good sangria.
It's different. Yeah.
I'll have wine, but I'm not a big wine guy. I like gin. I like my gins. If I don't have gin, I'll have vodka. If not, I'll do whiskeys too. My dad's a big whiskey guy.
Yeah, I was into whiskey for a while. I had fucking 40 bottles, 50 bottles. Every time I went to the liquor store, I would buy a different bottle of whiskey. Yeah, whiskey's good, man. With a nice cigar, freaking Scotch, Glenlivet. Like there's a couple of Scotches and whiskeys that I really like.
Single malt. My brother-in-law got me onto. Well, it's his thing, and I'll have it when I'm with him because I don't. It's very expensive, but Hibiki, the Japanese whiskey.
Yeah.
Stuff.
Hibiki's awesome.
They put like a little
we
bit
had
of
that
honey
the other
in it.
night. Remember that I showed you? I said this is Japanese whiskey.
Yeah, that was
you
really
did not
strong.
like it.
No.
Yeah, that was
it's
Hibiki.
strong stuff.
Yeah,
Hibiki's good. I generally do better with clear liquors. So gin is my main thing. Bombay Sapphire, Hendrix.
I can't do gin.
Love gin. I can't.
That licorice kind of. It's not even licorice.
Pine.
It's just like piney. Yeah. I don't like that.
So the Sapphire's got a little citrus in it.
Yeah.
It helps with that. Hendrix too. I'll do vodkas. Whiskey, I'll have like a couple, and then it's really I can't like drink whiskey for the whole night.
Yeah, me neither. It makes my stomach kind of like
I get angry.
messed up. Oh, do you?
It's the only alcohol I drink that like makes me angry.
Really?
Interesting. I wonder what's in it that changes that chemistry.
Every alcohol has like a different thing.
does.
Effect on somebody.
Yeah,
It
like
does.
wine. If I drink wine, it makes my face like red.
And sleepy.
Yeah.
That's why I don't like to drink wine.
Yep.
It's not something you can drink for a night. Like we've gone on cruises, and like on a cruise, you're drinking all day long. 9 o'clock in the morning, dude. It's gin and OJ.
Yeah.
And then like throughout the day, we'll switch like gin and ginger, and then by the nightfall, it's like gin and tonic water.
Dude, we gotta go on a cruise.
Yeah, we should.
I have never gone on a cruise ever.
So I
I went
think
a Disney cruise with my children.
What's that?
Disney.
Oh, Disney.
Disney.
Gotcha.
And you should definitely do that with your wife. It's the best
Really?
cruise on the planet of boats.
is it better than going to Disney?
It's better than going to Disney.
Okay.
Well, I mean, it's not the same because obviously Disney has the castle and this and this and that. But like for young ones, it's nice because you're on a boat, you get to go swimming, then you go to the island. It's just the food on the cruise ship is
awesome.
really
Yeah.
good for Disney. I've been on a different one that I think Carnival. My
I
mom
hear
brought
nothing
me on.
bad
That
things,
was
dude.
no
Yeah.
bueno.
Is that the
Yeah.
one that the girl went overboard? The grandfather was holding the
A
kid
lot
up
of
on the
things
railing.
happen with Carnival. They're like
You never seen that?
No.
Oh my god, dude! So
New Fear Unlocked.
dude, they were doing they were renovating like one side of the ship, and there was like these big windows on the ship, and a little railing, and the grandfather went to go put the kid up on the railing to like, hey, you're standing on the railing, and it looked like the glass was there because it was so clean. All the other glasses were so clean.
No.
It wasn't there, dude. And he freaking let go for a second and turned around. She went right over. She was like 3 years old, 2 years old.
Wow.
Yeah, this was like 4 or 5 years ago, 4 years ago. It
I
was all over the
probably
news,
would have been
dude.
right behind her.
Oh,
Jumping in, dude.
I think he ended up passing shortly after.
Really?
Probably
Yeah. Stressing.
From the
it.
stress
Yeah,
of that.
Royal
yeah.
Caribbean seems to be a really good cruise line that we've had success with. The 2 cruises we've been on. That first cruise we went on, there's a great story too. I proposed to my wife on the flight there.
On the
Oh.
On
plane?
the flight, dude. Yeah.
In
I
front
had,
of-
I had the, in front of everybody.
No
and I got it
way.
recorded. I had the wedding ring, and I was like trying to hide it. And my plan was we were gonna be in Haiti. We're gonna get like this sand beach like little house thing, and I was gonna write in the sand and make this like.
And you just ripped the Band-Aid off. You were like, fuck this, I'm doing it right here.
I can't carry this in my pocket anymore.
What happened was I had it in my pocket. I went through the security,
Oh yeah.
and whoop whoop whoop. And I'm looking at the guy. I'm like, dude, I gotta bring my pocket. I'm like, help me. And dude, the guy was so great, man. So I, like a drug deal, like pulled the thing out, put it on, slid it. My wife was like, what are you doing? I'm like, oh, my belt, babe. I forgot my belt. So now I got this ring in my pocket. And I'm like, there's no way I'm gonna survive on this cruise X amount of days, dude, without her seeing it, without me losing it. Like I can't do it this way. I can't. And then it hit me. I was like, I'm gonna do it just like on the plane. So I went to go talk to the stewardess. They were checking us in for our flight. Sweetest guy in the world, dude. A gay guy that was the nines, man. Listen, best guy ever because he helped me out a lot. And I go to him like, excuse me. I'm like, can I talk to you for a second? And at first he was a little standoffish, and then I remember telling him like, I want to propose to my girlfriend And he was like, I have this all set, dude. And he was like, I have it all figured out.
You just made my day.
Dude, I had to like walk to the front of the
love that guy.
plane. I had to like hide in the bathroom. Then they call my wife. And Ashley, I think it's your birthday or something. Is there something special going on? And she had no idea.
Oh.
And then they called her up. And then I slide out of the bathroom like a creeper. And I stopped walking back
Sweating
towards our
in the
chair.
bathroom.
And then turned around, dropped to a knee, did the whole proposal thing. I got it recorded, which is great.
Who recorded it? The guy? Your boy?
There was somebody else in the plane that recorded it. I couldn't remember now.
Oh, and they gave it to you?
They on my phone.
Oh, really?
Oh,
so you
you
just
gave
gave
it
it
to
to
Yeah, I
him?
gave
Yeah,
my
that's
I think it was
cool.
another stewardess that,
Yeah,
that was
yeah.
working with them, but he fabulous. He knew everything was going down. Dude,
He
to
was
this day,
waiting for that day to happen.
That was his 8 mile
Yeah,
moment.
yeah,
He's
yeah.
probably
That was his 8
told
mile.
that story
Oh,
over
yeah,
and
yeah,
over and
yeah,
over.
yeah.
So we get to the cruise ship. Now, mind you, it's just her and I on this cruise ship. We know nobody. And we're walking around the cruise ship. It's still docked. And we're walking towards the elevator. And we end up running into a couple that's friends of my father, friends of the family, Dave DeMello and his wife, Sylvia. We're like, oh, my God, we know people here. Like, what are the odds?
Yeah.
So we're all hanging out. We're by the pool. I think it was like the first day we were there. And we were in the pool area, and my wife and I had matching bathing suits. And I had, like, Chevy Chase short shorts like this. They're, like, flower printed and everything. And I was hanging out. We're taking a picture on, like, this, like, couch looks like lips. And I have the photo saved to this day, and I'm like doing like this flex thing, and my wife's like doing this thing, and there was people in the pool that we had seen the night before, really shit faced, and that we were like making fun of. And now we're in the pool with them, and now they're making fun of us, and they're looking at me like, I want to. Somebody said something about like they thought I was gay. And my wife came back around from getting drinks, and I gave her a kiss, and all I heard was, thank God. So I turned on the pool. It's the drunk guys from the night before that we seen at a piano bar, and I'm like, what do you mean? I'm like, man, we were taking bets over here.
Yeah, you were gay.
A $3 bill. Jason, Paul, Kim, to this day, still good friends. They went to my wedding.
That's cool, man.
We hung out with them.
They went to your wedding?
They went to my wedding.
Dope.
They came up for fights. They went to actually, they were at my last fight in
Where
Florida.
were they from?
Tampa.
That's sick,
nice.
man.
And we've been friends
I
ever
love
since.
that. That's dope.
Yeah, it's just how the world works. But we made really good friends with them that trip. Still keep in touch. Awesome.
Isn't it cool when like life throws those things at you sometimes, and you end up becoming friends with somebody that you never would have thought. You end up in a situation like
Long distance relationship.
stuff happens all the time. Those are
So
some of the
cool.
best like friendships that you ever get,
Absolutely.
because there's no motive behind it. There's no like. There's
Organic.
no. It's just
Yeah.
organic. Yeah.
Yeah, they're great people. And we still keep in touch to this day. We haven't seen them in a while just because things have been so chaotic the last couple of years with the kids, and it's been tough to travel. But eventually we get down there. Florida's a great area. I at one point want to get down to Florida and live there.
Yes.
I just want to get out of New England. My dad is one of the big things. My mom lives there. My sisters live there. I got aunts, uncles.
Oh yeah, you'll be down there.
All in Tampa or specific?
No, they're in Palm Coast. So they're
Okay.
on the East Coast. They're about 35 miles north of Daytona,
Nice.
Flagler. And I love that area, even to live, because, you go to be a Floridian, you go anywhere south of Orlando, you're in that heat all year round. It gets daunting, it's boring, everything's flat. At least in that area, they get 2 or 3 months of like winter-ish weather where it gets like in the 40s and the 50s. And
Which is perfect weather for me.
every time they get swamped with a hurricane, they're so far up north, they're only 45 minutes to an hour south of Jacksonville. You're not that far from the Georgia line, so you don't
Got
get
the
walloped
military
as bad. It's just
base,
like you get the best of it all.
Yeah.
And more importantly, above and beyond anything else, my family.
Your family's there.
My mother, my father.
Yeah.
And my dad's 78. He's not getting any younger, and he spends half the year there. He spends 6 weeks collectively throughout a year in Rhode Island. Every time he shows up, he's like, I can't wait to get out of here.
It's weird, man. It's like I feel that way too. I'm starting to like spread my wings a little bit more, I guess you could say, and it's making me want to get out of this area.
Yeah.
Sheena's not from this area. She's originally from California. She's lived in Florida. She's lived all over the place. We just had Bruce Sosha on a couple weeks ago.
The
and
actor?
Yeah.
Big guy, right?
Yeah. He was on, and he was talking about how Rhode Island can kind of just like,
Consume you.
trap you.
Yeah.
And you get into a position where you feel complacent and you're like, everybody's always out to get each other. There's no real camaraderie. There's no real like, I don't know, man. I just know when I go other places, I feel different. Like we were out to breakfast in Florida one day, and we were just eating breakfast, and I had a nice watch on, and I'm eating, and this guy across the table goes, "Hey, nice watch, man." Pulls up a seat next to me, starts talking, and like come to find out, he's one of the biggest like epoxy flooring companies in the country. So we're talking, and my brain's like, "Oh, how do we partner? How can we work? Yeah, how can we work, man? Let's open up one on the East Coast. Let's and we got pretty far to it, and then but like she's like, that happens down here all the time.
Yeah.
She's like, that would be our everyday life. And it just got me thinking. I'm like, that doesn't happen up here.
I think Rogan's got a good bit on like the cold makes people like galvanized in a way. Like you're just like,
Yeah, I remember that.
and you get those changes. Yeah, it's a great bit.
Yeah.
But I think it's that. You know, the other thing too is like, you know, you're a Rhode Island native guy, right? You're known, right? So you go out, you're almost waiting to bump into somebody.
Yeah.
No, it's nice to go somewhere and like kind of not be seen and not be noticed.
Yeah.
And it just feel like you're starting fresh in a sense.
No, for sure.
I could go anywhere in the world as long as I'm there with my family. And I've been away. I moved out. I lived with my mom. I moved out my senior year of high school, like I was saying, back in 2006, and she moved to Florida like a year after. And I've missed so many holidays and events and memories. And now my parents are getting older. My mother's in her mid-60s. My dad's in his late 70s. That clock just keeps ticking, and we're losing family members left and right. It's like you never know. My dad just lost. We just lost my uncle Louis, my dad's younger brother, last week.
I'm sorry to hear that, man.
Yeah, it's just
you close with him?
Oh, my Uncle Louis, yeah. He actually, when I went to
Portugal. Live up here?
He was in Portugal. Lived in Portugal. When my wife and I went there, when we flew to Barcelona, we had a layover in Lisbon first. Then we went to Barcelona, and then went back to Lisbon to stay in Lisbon for a few days. My uncle worked for a travel agency, and he's like part-time like tour guide. So when we went there, we spent the entire time with him. He took us all over Lisbon, everywhere. So we got to spend a lot of good time with him.
That's cool.
God rest him, and was a good soul, gentleman. And then my father's other brother, my Uncle Nelson, older than my Uncle Louis, younger than my father, heart attack fishing. Newport, no.
How old was he?
Westport. Uncle Nelson, another one in the 70s. And, so my dad's 78. You know, he's got some health and ailments and whatnot, and, you know, living his life the way he wants to live. He likes his whiskey, drinks daily. You know, he flies by the seat of his own pants. He's a man's man. So what do I do? Do I sit here for the next, 4 or 5 years and wait for
that phone call?
Yeah. Or do I make a move and try to get down there and be closer to him and to my mother? And
I mean, what would it really take? It would. So you got your wife and your 2 kids, right? Or your 1 kid and 1 to come?
No, 2.
Two and 1 to come?
My son's 8 months. No.
That was from before.
One and done. We got one of each. I use this analogy.
That's
right
perfect.
now, we're playing man coverage defense right now. You get 3 more kids, you go to zone defense. Way too many opportunities in red zone to get scored on. Right now, it's one-on-one, dude. It's beautiful. Perfect. It's great. We got one of each. They don't make any difference.
So how much? What would it take for you to uproot and go? Just take your wife.
So
does your wife have a lot of family here that she's attached to?
Yeah. But both sets of my in-laws, my mother-in-law, her husband, my father-in-law, his wife, are actually all on board to come with us.
Nice.
No way.
They're just waiting. My father-in-law's got like a year and change to retire. My mother-in-law's already retired. Her husband's got a couple of years left to retire. Lisa, my father-in-law's wife, they could make do. I think once he retires, he's going to be set for life. He's done very, very well. He's like a high-end director for waste management. He's the one who recommended me to get in. He's flying on jets with the CEO.
Dude, you ever hear about how that company started? Yeah, he started this company with nothing, and this was his first company that he made $1 billion off of. He has 7 companies that he's made $1 billion off of, and all stuff like this, like waste management stuff. His other one was, I think it was like some type of construction company, and he turned it into $1 billion platform. But yeah, it's a very fascinating story. I recommend people to read it. Do you like do audiobooks or something like?
No, I was reading for a while. I fell in love with Tess Garriston. I don't know if you guys ever heard of her.
No.
So remember the show they had, Rizzoli and Isles?
No.
It was like a detective and a medical examiner.
No.
She's an author based out of Boston. She was a doctor. The first book I read from her was Rose Garden, which kind of has a little bit to do with her main characters. She used to throw all her books. But just her style of writing was brilliant. It just drew me in. Rose Garden is a story about a woman, I believe, in Salem, Mass, that's digging up bones in her backyard. And then they do like flashbacks of like what happened. There was this girl who died years ago during like the Jack the Ripper. Rose Garden, dude, it's phenomenal. And it's got a lot of like medical terminology in it because she was a doctor herself. But the story is written around like the Jack the Ripper era, when there was a serial killer murdering people in Boston. And actually, Cambridge is where the story takes place. But nonetheless, they just kind of go back and forth. There's like flashbacks of like the current lady who found the bones and trying to figure out who they came from, and then what the girl who actually died and what happened with her. It was during like the contamination when they figured out that in hospitals and maternity wards they were using the same medical equipment and wash rags, and they're going from baby to baby, and people were getting sick and dying left and right. It was during that development what they figured out, and beautiful book, Rose Garden, Tess Garrison. But she had a show, and I read a bunch of books from her.
I love
and
reading.
then fell off the bandwagon.
Reading brings you to like a totally different place.
You need time for reading. That's
That's,
you're doing audiobooks, or you're reading.
I have to do audiobooks. Like sometimes we have some time at night where we read. Like we've been trying to stick onto this path where at night we like meditate or some type of meditation where we sit in front of each other and we kind of just manifest the things that we want to accomplish, and we put our goals aside. Like when we first met, we went to a place called Chase Park, and it overlooks this beautiful like hilltop area, and we sat at a picnic table and we made our goals for 2024. We're like, this is what we want to do. This is how we want to do it, and we have done it.
We accomplished everything.
We accomplished every single one, man. So like, I want to go back to that table and make our 2025 goals. But yeah, we try to do that every night. Like just have some downtime without our phone, without like, because my phone, dude, like, look, I had my phone down for literally, I don't know how long we've been here, 17 missed calls.
Jesus Christ.
That's insanity. 27 Facebook messages, probably all. It's just like, so it's important for us to get that time and shut down. But going back to audiobooks, when I'm in the car and stuff, I'll listen to an audiobook. Or the last audiobook I listened to was that Mark Wahlberg movie where he was on Mars. Do you remember that?
Interstellar?
No, Mark. It was called
Martian?
Yes,
The Martian.
Dude,
right?
That book was so sick.
Yeah.
Yes, here it is.
Yep.
This book was so cool, and then right after I read the book, they announced that the movie was coming out.
Oh, wow.
And but so when I was in the union, I would literally plug in my headphones in the morning. It was 7 o'clock start, 2 o'clock we would get out of there. From 7 o'clock, I would have my AirPods in, and I would listen to audiobooks all day long. Or I would listen to Howard Stern and then Opie and Anthony.
Opie and Anthony. That was like the original.
This is back in the day, dude.
Yeah.
So like I would listen to Howard Stern, and then Opie and Anthony came on right after, and that was my day. Like that's what I would do. But then I would throw some audiobooks in here and there. But it just brings you to a different like place, man. Your mind just works differently when it's thinking of like it's talking about a base on the moon, right? And you don't have that visual picture, but you're able to make it. You're able to like put it in place.
It's so descriptive. Books are so descriptive that you can actually your brain starts to wrap around.
Like and like halfway in, like you have a picture of these people in your head, not of people you've met before. Not of people like you've ran into. It's like a different person, like the way they describe it.
Absolutely.
Or like a house that they describe. It's like you've never been in that house, but like you can feel it and you can like,
Especially if it's a good author and they could really, bring those words to life for you.
Yeah.
So I listen to so many podcasts and crap. I'm at work and the music, and then I'll tell you, every now and then I will put on just straight piano classical music.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Like
Mozart.
we do that.
Yeah, I love it. If I'm working on something that requires my attention, because sometimes if I have to pay attention to what I'm doing, if I'm listening to, whether it's rap or like rock or something like that, it kind of dilutes and like you're not really kind of thinking about the lyrics or the beats or the breakdowns, whatever. So it's nice just to have something playing in the background that's just like peaceful, soothing. And
I'm getting so sick of rap music, dude. I'm getting so sick of just like, I don't know. I go through phases where I'm like, fuck, like this music is trash.
Yeah,
it's rotting my brain, and then I'll put on like some classical stuff or I'll put on a podcast, and then I'll like start listening to rap again. Yeah. I go through phases with that stuff, but it's important. You got to be careful what you're consuming, man.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah. It's so weird, I think, because rap nowadays is so diluted, and the era of like great lyrics and battle rapping and like that like everybody kind of came into. It's not what it used to be anymore.
Yeah.
Like, you have some of these songs that are out there. It's just like
it's all agenda based. It's all agenda based.
I'll stand, and not because I'm a gringo myself, but I think Eminem is the greatest rapper of all time. My personal opinion. I mean, you could look at the sales, you could do it. When you look at his catalog of everything he's written, and how much he's like gotten sharper in the last 5 years, whatever it's been since he dropped the
Marshmallows LP?
No, even then he was great, but it was Kamikaze.
Oh, yeah.
Everything he's dropped from Kamikaze till now, with this last album he just did, has been phenomenal. And then he's doing like remixes to songs he's already done. Like he did the one with West Side Boogie, and I forget the name of it, but it's phenomenal. He just
produced Juice WRLD's new album.
Yeah, rest in peace.
Yeah, that was a good album, man. That kid was so freaking talented.
Yeah. Musician, he could sing,
everything,
rap, he could do everything. He had like an hour and a half freestyle, right? He just rammed off the top.
Yep.
And that's the talent. It's like those guys don't get enough attention, but you get guys that are just rapping about nothing, and the sexy reds, and it's like,
oh, dude,
Ice
she's
Spice,
disgusting.
terrible.
She's disgusting. That's that girl that I told you looks like a guy.
Yeah.
Yes.
And like kids are like sweating over her.
Yeah,
like she's
terrible.
disgusting.
Yeah.
And like, look at her. Like, dude, that looks like a man.
Yes.
That's
Mrs. Swan.
what's
She
so
looking like a man.
confusing is just the agenda that has been going on.
She's
really-
And the lyrics.
She's
horrible.
trash. She's trash.
Yeah.
Like, if my daughter grew up like that, I would be so upset. That's trash. But the problem is that they're bigging her up. They're giving her a platform. Yep. I went to a concert. What concert was that, babe? That I went to with Mikey.
I can't remember.
It was I forget, but NLE Chopper was there singing "My Wet Pussy" or something like that, some song like that, right? And there was like a 9-year-old dude on the side of me screaming, "Fuck me hard, fuck me this, fuck me that," and her parents on the other side of her, they're jumping around, and I'm like, this is crazy.
Where have we gotten to in times? And then you wonder why, like, the IQ level of kids and it's like just falling down. That it's going down the shitter. Dude. It's like there's no other way to say it. It's horrible, and that's because that culture gets pushed out. Yeah. And it started like the female rappers like that. It all started with Lil' Kim.
Yeah.
And Lil' Kim was the first one. F this one, and I'll do this, and then over time that became acceptable. It became norm. Now everybody else is doing it, and everybody's trying to top. Everybody wants to be the next person that can drop your jaw with these crude lyrics. I mean, a couple of years ago they were arguing about "Baby It's Cold Outside." The same year that WAP was the number one song on
that was
the Billboards.
Wild. I rember that dude. Yeah,
it's just
I remember making a post about that. I was like, this doesn't even make sense. We're in a freaking
the misogyny.
clown world.
It's just terrible.
That's the problem. Is it was a feminism agenda that has just gone wild, and it's not a good look. What we see for music, that's not what women wanted. That's not the kind of freedom that women are asking for to be able to talk like trash and walk like trash. But that's what's come down to. That's what they're portraying as women's rights and freedom. You
look at where the feminist movement started and what they were fighting for, and you look at where it is now, it's not. It's like the Democratic Party. What it used to be 20, 30 years ago is not what it became now. It's changed. It's evolved. You look at a lot of feminists now, what they're fighting for is not necessarily for equal rights, is they want to be pushed onto a pedestal and held up there.
Right.
Yeah.
You talk about like agendas and whatnot, like you wonder like who's at the top of that pushing that stuff down into the people.
Well, the Rockefellers,
somebody who's profiting it off of it, that's for sure.
Yeah, Soros or whoever else.
Yeah, I mean that it started by dividing the family. The feminism, the Rothschild and the Rockefellers are the ones that started this agenda to get the families to be separated and divided. So they're pushing women's rights, women's this, that, to get the women out of the household. So now the women are out. Now the children are going somewhere else. The father's going somewhere else. The wife's going somewhere else. That's a whole lot of collective thoughts that you're supposed to come back to a house and agree on. It created division.
Right. And
so we have to bring it back to the basics.
Yes.
Our
know
newer
that.
generations have to come back to the basics of being a family unit, because if you're strong there, then you can be strong out in the world.
You ever seen that video of back in the day? It was like in the 70s or the 60s of that Russian guy kind of explaining how they're going to infiltrate America.
No.
And he kind of breaks it down of like, okay, first we're going to infect their music. Then we're going to divide them by false narratives. Then we're going to do this. Then we're going to do that. And then the last thing he said was, then it will be time to take over. We're pretty deep in right now on their plan. And they don't hide it. It's there. It's like, do you want to listen to it or not? People, it's there for all of us to see, but some people have different interpretations of it.
A lot of people are in denial too.
A lot of people are in denial.
That's everything. Even when we're talking about the COVID thing, how many people are like, "Oh, this is." I have my beliefs, right? You look at 3 years of Trump just killing it, economy doing well. He burns Russia. He burns China with all these tariffs. Secretly, the same year, some Chinese virus comes out of nowhere. It's just so
too much
bizarre.
of a coincidence.
This is too much.
Yeah.
I mean, people still are arguing whether it was created in China when we've been given the information and the actual name of the lab that COVID was actually created in. So we're dealing with something on a whole nother level. That's biological warfare that was brought to the United States. Like, it's so deep, it's incredible.
But if you you lay yourself in the middle, you say, how ironic that this guy who shouldn't have been elected president somehow broke the system. got his way in there. So I talked about draining swamps. He wasn't complying with all the establishment, right? He was wanting to do things his own way. Made some poor choices. Some of the people he put around because it's his first time. He didn't really know what was going on. Everything's crushing, right? He's burning China with the tariffs. On his last year, COVID comes out, destroys the economy, throws everybody into a whirlwind, takes the control out of his hands, puts it into the government, and then everything else is a snowball effect. And you look at from his last year with COVID and then the last 4 years with Biden, and you look at it as a whole, there's no way you can't point a finger and say, like, this something went wrong here.
Yeah.
And there's too much stacked against it. But I like to put on my tin hat and be a little bit of a conspiracy theorist.
I think at this point, dude, it's like on the edge of being conspiracy and like real.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think, all that stuff that we thought might be a conspiracy is kind of
true.
Yeah. There's a lot that comes out. I mean, there's a reason for it. You know, I'm interested to see like if he really pushes to get like the JFK files released.
Yeah.
He said he would.
He said he would.
He said he would.
Epstein list.
Yeah,
released.
he said he would.
This thing with Diddy, like I
Jay-Z now, dude.
dude.
Jay-Z.
I mean, birds of a feather flock together, dude.
100%.
There's no way people that were that close to Puff didn't know what was going on.
100%.
I don't
dude.
even
weren't
care
involved.
who's on the list. I want to know what we're going to do to change this. Because this is, I mean, pedophilia has been going on since the Roman times. And that whole entire dynasty just died because it got to the points that we're at in the United States. We're at the raunchy sex, no family, like pedophilia.
Yeah, that's how that shit crumbled.
It crumbles. So I hope that who cares who's on the list? What are we going to do about it? How are we going to change it? How are we going to make it safe for our children? Because ultimately, we're going to die before anything major happens. Our children and our grandchildren are going to feel the repercussions of everything that we're doing now.
I think it is, though, a little. I think if you do find out who's on a list, it's going to help you pull apart everything by the seams, right?
Yeah.
You get that one little string, you start pulling this one here, pulling here, because people will ice each other out. Like, people who don't want to get caught up in something, want to get thrown in jail, they're going to stop pointing fingers and casting blame. So I think it is important they figure out, or they know.
Yeah,
it's just
they
they're
know.
like waiting, they're sitting on it, and I don't know why they would be sitting on that. And like,
I know.
is you want to
Why
get all
are
your
they
ducks in a
protecting
row?
them?
Are you trying to protect certain people within that
Oh,
list?
it's all the above, I think.
Look at Amanda Bynes. She went through some.
Who's that? The kid actor?
She was a kid actress, and she was really funny. Like I think she worked with Keenan and Kel.
Yeah, she was on
Was
All
she?
That.
Yeah,
All
all
That,
that. She was just
yeah.
naturally funny, but she got impregnated at 16 by the producer, the main guy. Had to have an abortion, and if you look at her now, you can see the trauma.
Yeah.
She's injected her face everywhere. She's gone gothic. She's just. Her whole life, like, is gone. So what was the money and fame worth?
Yeah.
It was worth absolutely nothing because she wasn't protected as a child.
Yeah.
It's just...
When you think about Hollywood, how many kid actors that blew up young, even whether it's music or it's acting, whatever it may be, have come out on the other side perfectly fine? Very, very minimal.
Yeah.
Who's
Very,
that
very
one?
minimal.
Oh, you know who so far? Jake Paul.
Yeah, he's like a younger generation.
Jake Paul was
more-
the Nickelodeon,
He was a
Disney
Disney kid,
actor
yeah.
at what,
Yep.
16, 17?
Yep.
He was doing YouTube and blew up on YouTube and Vine when he was like 15, 14.
Yep.
So he's kind of in that,
The anomaly in that sense.
Yeah, for
But
sure.
I mean, you look at all these child actors, man, and you run, especially from the 80s and the 90s, that era,
Yeah.
where there wasn't social media, people didn't have phones. It was a lot easier to hide certain things.
True.
Jake came up, and it was already the YouTube thing. It was already a
That's a good point.
different era.
Yeah.
I'm so thankful that my dad was really hard on us when it came to like finances, dude. He was not.
You seem like you're really tight with money, really tight with your work ethic.
Dude, I had my first apartment at 19, living
Nice.
completely on my own, and I've been on my own since. I have nephews that are in their early 20s, dude. You're not going to get that out of them, right? I know times have changed too, and finances are different, and to make the money now to live on your own is completely different. But like, there's a standard that we've continued to just drop the bar, and you can go look at schooling,
Yes.
right? You look at grades, right? All these guys aren't reading enough level. They're not passing enough classes. Instead of getting them the help to get them where they need to be, they just lower the bar. Lower the bar. I grew up in Mass. We had the MCAS, the like SATs, if you will, over the mat. And you had it in. I remember in middle school and high school, you're taking MCAS every year. They want to eliminate that. They don't want to eliminate that type of testing because not enough people are doing well with it. It's like we can't continue to keep lowering that bar because then that low bar is gonna become the new standard, and that's what we're seeing with the workforce.
Yeah.
Everybody wants a job. Everybody wants money. Nobody wants to work.
it's that instant gratification thing. It's like everybody wants to be put in a managerial position right away, or everybody wants to become a foreman right away. It's like, dude, before I started my companies, I had to work for somebody for 10 years. I knew that I eventually wanted to start a company, but I had to learn, dude. I had to learn how business was. It took me so many failures. I failed so many times. But it's like people want to get that instant like success, and it doesn't happen like that. You have to eat shit for a while.
Yeah, you got to earn your keep.
You got to earn it, man. It's just like fighting. You know what I mean? Like you if you were to get in, if you were to fight somebody that is just starting, you're obviously going to destroy them. But if they put the time in, they could be incredible to the point where they could get the best of you. It's like you got to put your time in, dude.
And I think that's the thing is like to your point with social media, everything else. Like everybody wants instant gratification. I go to the gym for a week, I want to see instant results.
Right.
You know, I study for an hour, I want to instantly pass the test. It's like it's not how things work, and it's not about what was it? Bob Marley said it's not about the destination, it's about the journey getting there, right? That's where you really learn and develop all that stuff. And I think about that with myself with like all the work that I've done and how everything I did early on, working for a janitorial company, built rapport. I showed I was going to show up to work and I was dedicated. If I didn't build that rapport with the people I did, I wouldn't have had the opportunity to step into a job that I probably in this time, I will say it's the best job I've had in my entire life. Because I'm in a position where I make enough money to survive, I don't have to put in the extra hours if I don't need to. I go in, I do my thing, and I leave. I work for a great company that's going to move me up the ladder when the time is right. I can go up, down, left, right, center. If I want to get out of facilities and if I want to get back into routing, or if I want to get into logistics, I want to get into like a route supervisor, I want to get into sales, I want to do anything. It's a good company as a foundation. I know that essentially I just want something that is standardized, I can make my money, be comfortable, and then I could do things on the side. The extra work I do from now on, it's not going to be so much for the overtime, it's going to be for me. So if I'm going to do something on the side, work a part-time job or flip a house or something like that, that's the money I'm going to make for myself.
Yeah.
And I don't mind putting in the extra work to do so, and in time, 10, 15 years of me doing it, I start to say, hey, you know what, I could live off this, and then I'll put myself in that position. But I need that security, that stability. But it's the work I did early on when I was 20, 21, showing up on Saturdays and doing overtime and doing all this stuff, and to prove to these guys that when the time came and I needed that position, or I needed that opportunity, they knew I was that guy to give it to, and that I was going to show up every day and do the right thing.
Yeah. Dope, man. Dennis, thank you for coming on today. It was an absolute blast. It's been a pleasure just getting to know you for this last 2 hours. First time we met, and it's awesome. Yeah. It's awesome, man.
First time we met.
Talked. Spoke.
Yeah, it's true.
Talked.
I think we were at a venue. We were at a fight.
We've met a few times, but it was just like, hey, what's up, man?
I appreciate it, man. Thank you for having me on. A lot to talk about. A lot more in the future, I'm sure.
Hell yeah.
We'll see what happens in 2025.
I'm looking forward to it, man.
The return of the loaf comes to fruition.
Hey, you got tickets out of us. We'll be there.
Give us a call, and maybe we'll break it. Maybe you can do a little announcement or something. That'd be cool.
Yeah.
That'd be sick, man.
We'll be shouting off the rooftops when I pull the trigger. We're just waiting on some things to change. Schedule is the big thing, but we'll get there.
We'll be supporting you, man.
Appreciate
Good luck
it.
with everything. Thank you.